I met this incredibly enterprising lady in Hong Kong who talked to me about senior living. And I then found the idea fascinating and came back to India and did some research as to what exists in terms of products and services and opportunities for the aging population here and realized there was nothing. And that's what inspired me to say that why is it that people only think of aging in a negative way? See, we were really the only player that was looking at senior care as an industry. It didn't exist. So much of my energy in the first few years were spent breaking that narrative and that myth that growing older and really living life on your own terms with independence and relevance can be a very joyful thing. It's very empowering actually to be able to do it. In my philanthropy journey, which because of my passion in education, most of my philanthropy has been in the education sector and the foundation of grant giving and capacity building in the education sector. But my other way of my philanthropy is actually giving my time, and I do that through various board roles and advisory roles. And it so happened that time has been spent in being parts of organizations that are really focused on making the lives of women better in our country. My father is known to be a serial entrepreneur. He also came from a family that was very well established and he wanted financial independence. So he took a loan from my grandfather, and that's when he started Max. And my father, when he started a health insurance and life insurance and healthcare business, all three businesses
Together.
were born at around the same time. He was very clear he wanted to create businesses of social good. And I think that DNA continued in my siblings and I.
Hello and welcome to the Statesman Talk with me, Deepti J. Verma. Today we are being joined by Tara Singh Marchani, who is the chairperson for Antara Senior Living as well as vice chairman for Max India. She's a philanthropist, an early education enthusiast, and works a lot in the women's sector as well. Today we're going to talk to her about her journey, what inspires her, and how is she taking this senior living forward. Thank you for joining us, Tara.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so first we're going to talk about your passion project, which is Antara Senior Living. What was your vision when you created it? I believe it's been more than 10 years. And how is it different than other senior living in India?
Sure. So, when I started Deepti, we were really the only player that was looking at senior care as an industry. It didn't exist. There were fragmented opportunities of residential communities around India that took care of this population.
Which is old age homes, what you
Well,
call.
that's what it used to be called.
Yeah.
And that's how people associated the concept. And so so much of my energy in the first few years were spent breaking that narrative and that myth that growing older and really living life on your own terms with independence and relevance can be a very joyful thing. It's very empowering actually to be able to do it. So Antara wanted to do that. It wanted to create a sense of independence and relevance in people who were getting older and making a choice about how they were going to spend their time getting older. So Antara started with our residences vertical, which is what we call senior living now.
Where was the first one?
Our first one was in Dehradun. And the first 5 years were incredibly challenging because all I was doing was convincing people why we exist, convincing investors, shareholders, clients, my own team sometimes. And fast forward to 2020, the whole game changed. And that's also when we decided to diversify and create other business verticals under Antara, which was also assisted living, home care. And our latest baby in the Antara ecosystem is a D2C brand for products that help people with chronic conditions. So we're now 4 business verticals under Antara.
Old age homes have like this depressing ring to it.
Right.
Why is it so how did you get into it? Like why did you want to get into this space as
Right.
well as just give us paint a picture for what an Antara senior living is like.
Sure. So, when I had finished university, come back to India, and I was figuring out what next, and I met this incredibly enterprising lady in Hong Kong who talked to me about senior living, and I then found the idea fascinating and came back to India and did some research as to what exists in terms of products and services and opportunities for the aging population here, and realized there was nothing. And that's what inspired me to say that why is it that people only think of aging in a negative way? In
Yeah.
the words you use, depressing,
Yeah.
demoralizing, heartbreaking. Why
And
can't we
lonely.
lonely? Why
Yeah.
can't we change the entire narrative of quality of life of people getting older? And I then studied and realized that continuing care retirement communities, which is what our residences vertical is modeled on, is actually a beautiful way for people to get older. So that's how the dream of Dehradun came about, where I would say we're extremely high end. It was not the intention to be as high end. When I dreamt of the concept and put costs, etc., together, a certain price came
Yeah.
about. And so it evolved into
A
a
luxury project.
luxury product. And we're 200 apartments, from 2,000 square feet to 10,000 square feet. We have a beautiful club. We literally have views of the mountains, pure air, all of the facilities, amenities, from obviously primary care, healthcare services, to curated food, to a lovely spa.
Okay.
But all of that was interesting in the early years. Now, we are now for 5 years since we operationalized. Now, the sense of community amongst our residents is what I think is the biggest USP of that community. The infrastructure and hardware is quite easy to replicate, but I would say the sense of seva
How
bhav
many
that we have,
families do you have?
we're fully sold
Booked?
out. We
Fully
have a
sold.
very long wait list now.
Do you have another one in mind?
So Antara Noida launched 3 years ago in terms of construction. People will start moving in next year. We just launched Antara Gurgaon. We're thankfully sold out there as well, and that will
So
be
what's your
online.
clientele? Is it NRIs? Is it young professionals who don't have the time to take care of their
Right.
parents?
So our residences vertical is we talk to the end user. So our clients.
You don't know what the background is.
No, we do, in the sense that we don't go through children or family members for our residences vertical, because that is something that independent, well heeled people will take a decision for themselves. So our ideal audience is 55 to 65, because they're in a position to take a financial decision.
Okay.
They're people who live without their
It's
children.
not like children are coming and dropping the
No,
parents.
because this is a lifestyle concept. It's
Yeah.
lifestyle transitioning ultimately into life care, and we promote independence. So the children are, of course, party to the decision, but for the residences vertical, we go to the end user who's saying, I don't need to live in an urban environment, or I'm not happy where I'm living now. I want to start planning for my next 30 years. I'm financially
So
well
almost
off.
like vanprast in the Indian
It
culture.
actually is that.
Yeah.
And the fact that they are empowered to take the decision for themselves, to say, I want this super
Life for
quality
me,
of life.
yeah.
So we go directly to them. Our assisted living vertical, which we call care homes, that's for an older population who needs 24/7 care. So
And that's also there. Also,
actually, no, that's in the
infrastructure.
NCR. We have 150.
That's a service, or is it? They're also homes.
They're facilities which are rooms. Our
Okay.
residences are high-end premium
They
communities.
are the apartments.
Right. Care homes are essentially, imagine a high-end homely version of a nursing home, because
Okay.
people need 24/7 care. There their children take the decision, because there their children are unable to care for the parents, and they know
It's a different age group.
it's a different age group, different product. That's more care based, healthcare based, but a huge gap in the market. And then we, like I said, we do home care as well, where we're able to do about 16 different business lines in your home. And I can talk about AGZ later. But that was the vision. The vision was to redefine and create a category around senior care, and in a way break all the myths of
Attached to it.
Absolutely.
You're also really enthusiastic about early year education. You are one of the founding members of Learning Matters. Why is that again so dear to your heart?
So I feel like all of the different things I do in my life have all been just a journey that one has taken. I never woke up one day and said, this is a space I'm passionate about in terms of early years. So Sonia Phillips is the founder of Learning Matters. She founded Learning Matters almost 20 years ago. And I actually, sort of knew her through my family. And I went to have a coffee with her when my older daughter Veda was 10 months old, just to understand the landscape of early years in Delhi. And I spent 4 hours with her, and I fell in love with her vision, her passion, her ideology. And
That time she had one Learning Matters?
she had the one in Qutub, institutional area here in Delhi. And I remember sort of realizing in that meeting that the early years, ages 0 to 10, are the most important years in a human being's life, not a child's life, a human being's life. I have goosebumps talking about it. And that realization was so powerful for me that I said, Sonia, I have to be a part of your cause. I have to champion you whichever way I can. So I thought I'd come in as a passive investor. Became an active investor because Sonia and I became, I think we know each other from past lifetimes. So I just learned a lot from her, and now we just opened our third location in Delhi. We are very play led, child advocacy led, play based. We're very much about understanding the child and giving them the autonomy to express their personality at the age of 2 and 3, which a lot of us don't realize how important
How
it is.
important.
And we're very deep. We don't want to be some scale play all over the country. Our dream is now to create a dedicated K5 school so that we can handhold the child till age 10. But we'll see if that dream comes alive.
What did you bring to the table in terms of um, did you bring something specific to your experience that you brought to her, already existing system?
Yeah. I think I brought business building. While we don't think of it as a business, the fundamentals of anything to be able to exist are predicated on some structures, processes, flows, strategies. So I brought the financial investment.
Not the education part
No,
at
because
all.
I didn't have
She
the
has a
skills.
module that
I mean,
works.
she's an educationist herself. She was a educator with AES for many years, then went to America for 8 9 years, got a PhD. So she knows this field in her sleep. So I brought the strategy. I brought the ecosystem, human capital, the brand, and just facilitating the execution of this
Of her
dream.
vision.
Absolutely.
Again, women power is something, that's another
Yeah.
one of your many passions. You work with something called Karm Foundation,
Of course.
and something called Vedika mentorship
Scholars.
program.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are those?
So in my philanthropy journey, which you know really is the soul of, I think, who I am or who I'm becoming as a person, I because of my passion in education, most of my philanthropy has been in the education sector. And the foundation does grant giving in capacity building in the education sector. But my other way of my philanthropy is actually giving my time, and I do that through various board roles and advisory roles. And it so happened that time has been spent in being parts of organizations that are really focused on making the lives of women better in our country.
Do you think when you tread on this journey, these things just keep
They
coming
come.
along?
They come. And I consciously then make choices about what I do and what I don't.
Who you associate with?
Who absolutely. I mean, I talk very often about the concept of Sangat, and I feel very strongly about that. But when it comes to these opportunities, I do say no. But it so happened that these women, I would say empowerment is so overused, but just championing women in the world of philanthropy has come my way, and I haven't turned away from them. And Karm, for example, the Karm Fellowship is an amazing program to do that. Founded by very dear friends of mine. They take now almost 30 young women and just nurture them in the entire 3 years of their college life. Make sure they have financial stability with a job at the end
Education
of it.
in India?
Yeah, and it's just life changing. It's life changing for these girls. We've touched 150 lives in the last 3 years because it's a very deep program. Vedika Scholars is an MBA just for women. I'm on a few other boards.
Do you absorb any of this talent later on in your line of work?
Always. Internships while they're going through their journeys, and then we hire from the pool as well.
You have, correct me if I'm wrong, you've studied politics, business, as well as hospitality.
Actually, I did politics and literature with a minor in South Asian studies in my undergrad. I then spent time studying hospitality and strategy. Never studied business.
Okay.
And I remember asking my father when I was preparing to apply to my undergrad, and the one thing he said to me was, "Please don't study business."
Strangely, a lot of innovators come from the English literature background.
Yeah.
Why, do you think there's a connection in terms of your one side of brain developing, creatively?
Perhaps in my case, my parents never set guardrails for us. My siblings and I all took very different journeys to one another, and we were given the autonomy to figure out who we wanted to be. And my aspiration was always to study something I enjoyed studying. I really didn't study it thinking it would
lead to something.
Absolutely. And I loved politics.
Hmm.
I love literature. I still do.
Do you have any use of it in your current scheme of things?
I think it just makes you think.
Think.
It makes you think at a very strategic level. You're able to distance yourself rather from the tactical day to day and step back and think.
And do you think like understanding human behavior through literature helps in
Absolutely.
every walk of life?
Absolutely. And also, and I say this to my daughters all the time, this the love of reading is probably the biggest gift you can give anyone or yourself. And that's where it started for me. And then the analysis of literature, as you
Hmm.
said, really helps you understand society, individuals, collective sort of transitions in the ecosystem. So overall, it's a great thing to enjoy.
Your brother handles something called Vana,
Mhm,
which is a luxury retreat, a well-being retreat.
mhm,
You are with Antara. So they are kind of offshoots of well-being.
mhm.
Your family was in healthcare
Healthcare.
for the longest time and then it exited a
Mhm.
few years ago. Why, how are they two different things, like well-being and healthcare? And why did the family decide to, exit out of hardcore healthcare
Yeah.
and, go to these offshoots?
Sure. So, my father is known to be a serial
Hmm.
entrepreneur. He also came from a family that was very well established, but he was very,
Ranbaxy,
my grandfather
which is
was
pharmaceutical company.
started Ranbaxy
Yeah.
exactly. And when my father came back after he studied abroad for
Hmm.
7, 8 years, he was very clear that he wanted his own independence
Hmm.
and he wanted financial independence. So he took a loan from my grandfather, and that's when he started Max. He
Hmm.
worked for Ranbaxy maybe for 6 months and said, "This isn't for me." And because he knew pharma, he started his entrepreneurial journey also in pharma. And he is one of those people who finds opportunities. He creates something very meaningful, at least I think it's meaningful. But he also believes in detaching and moving on. And he feels that when you cease to be naturally inclined for that business emotionally or intellectually, you should let it go. And so he's done that multiple times, 14
So
different
don't be in the
businesses.
business of being in business, basically.
Exactly. And so in his the phase before Antara and Vana, etc., he had life insurance, health insurance, and healthcare. And he realized the healthcare space was getting very complicated. He was spending more and more time abroad, building our hospitality portfolio abroad. That's another brand called the Liu
When you
Collection.
say complicated, it means like in terms of licensing or
Everything,
legal,
political
what? Yeah.
intervention, customer patient
Hmm.
intervention, lobbying, advocacy,
Hmm.
just the sense of exposure that it was creating for our family was becoming difficult.
Hmm.
And my husband's very clearly passionate about his business, which is our real estate company. I'm very passionate about Antara and the other things I do. And he's sort of, my father felt, who's going to champion this healthcare business when he
And it's
doesn't,
high stress.
high stress, and he was spending more and more time abroad, and he was clear that the healthcare business either needs a massive institution behind it
Hmm.
that creates a bit of distance between
Distance,
the
yeah.
business and
Yeah.
the people running it,
Hmm.
or then as sponsors you have to be in the helm of things, and
Hmm.
he didn't really want me to have to go through it. So it was a very tough transition for us because growing up, that was so much of my identity as a
Yeah.
family. And my father, when he started a health insurance and life insurance and healthcare business, all three businesses
Together.
were born at around the same time. He was very clear he wanted to create businesses of social good. And I think that DNA continued in my siblings and I. And that my brother's journey, in a way, I'm guessing we all get subconsciously inspired. He was an organic farmer, very passionate about Indian roots, and Vana was born out of that passion. And he said, I want to create a retreat for people to escape the challenges of the world we live in. So Vana is predicated on Ayurveda, naturopathy, and
Yeah.
yoga. And Antara and Vana were born at the same time, and it so happened that we were born in Dehradun together. I think I'm more of a business. I'm part of a publicly listed company called Max India, so I deal with the business part of what I'm doing. Our scale is larger, but the ethos is still seva.
Yeah.
And I think more than well-being and wellness being a thread in our businesses, I think seva bhav is something that's always
Let's talk
been.
about that. Let's
Hmm.
talk about your, you've talked about Sangat, Seva. while growing up, were you always spiritual? What is your go-to spiritual, escape?
Hmm.
What do you believe in philosophically?
I'm a Sadarni.
Hmm.
Both of my parents are Sikh.
Hmm.
So we were raised in a home that had the Sikh practices.
Hmm.
We have a Gurdwara in our house,
Hmm.
a Granth Sahib.
Hmm.
My parents, we were always learning, from the Granth Sahib. But my father, at a very early age, would talk to us about various different spiritual texts. Uh, one of our gurus is His Holiness the Dalai Lama. My father used to follow Osho. Of course, all the
You've
Granth
also
Sahib,
hosted
His
somebody in your
Holiness,
house
many times,
many
His
times, right?
Holiness,
These
yes,
gurus, and you like invite people to your home to
yes.
seek their blessings and learnings,
When you're fortunate to
to have
have
access.
to gurus, you want to be able to share that with as many people as possible. So I think somewhere that energy in our minds kept getting accumulated of various important spiritual concepts. So where I'm today, interestingly, I'm married to a Hindu, he's Sindhi. And I often ask him, I said, when our girls are older, what are they going to identify as? And I haven't conquered that answer yet. But in our home, we
Are you exposing them to both?
all of it.
Yeah.
Um, and why not?
Yeah.
I think they will discover if they feel the need for an identity, my sense is they will discover it. But the fundamentals of spirituality, as we all know, are the same in
And the same.
all religions, all gurus, all bhakti. And I think that the realization and the acceptance of how important the reality of life is through the spiritual lens is something I carry with me hourly.
Do you think it helps you anchor yourself better?
100%. I think you don't sweat the small stuff. You can always step back and feel a sense of confidence in the true reality of what life is, and that sense of security, knowing the truth, you don't sweat the small stuff, and it's very liberating.
You're obviously we've spoken about your dad, Anarjeet Singh. He was a business visionary, and now you're mother to two daughters. How do you view legacy? Do you wear it lightly? Do you carry it as a burden? How do you intend to pass it on? What have you inherited, and what do you intend to pass on?
I had this debate just last weekend, so I have a clear answer in my mind. I think legacy is overrated. And I think more often than not, legacy is almost like shackles because it doesn't allow you to reinvent yourself or actually understand who you are as a human being or a family or a new unit.
Yeah.
And nothing in life is permanent, as we know, Deepthi, and therefore reinvention is very important. And when you convince yourself that a certain legacy has to be upheld, you, like I said, you don't give yourself the freedom of your own truth and reality. So the legacy of values is something I hold very dear to me. The concept of seva. um, I really think as a family unit now of four, my husband, myself, and my girls, I still hold the idea of being of use to society as the number one anchoring for us. That's the legacy that I think I would like to nurture and hold on to.
Not the numbers and figures that come with
No
it.
business legacy, no brand legacy, no industry legacy. I don't feel attached to it at all. I think the legacy my father was able to give us created a platform and again gave us the
Wings
liberty
to
and the wings
yeah.
to identify who we were and what we wanted to do. And that I'm forever grateful for it. But it didn't come with any baggage. I've always been a high intensity, responsible person with or without, a brand behind me. But the anchorage has been something I'm grateful for, but I'm not tied to it in any
And
way.
what would you want to pass on to your daughters?
As I said, the values of seva. Honestly, I know I keep repeating that word and I don't do it
Yeah.
arbitrarily. I genuinely feel our role and understanding that our individual actions have larger consequences in the world we live in is something I want them to understand. And a very deep sense of purpose of how they can contribute is really all I ask. So I don't say, and that's why maybe I'm not push them academically yet, or I don't imagine them to be in a certain college. I just think if they wake up every morning with a deep sense of purpose and a plan of action, think today I'm conquering this. That's all I want for them.
Yeah, even I read this somewhere that you owe more to the future generations than your ancestors. So, I mean,
Interesting.
ideally,
Mhm.
we need to leave a world which is better for them rather than creating a world, rather than sticking to a world which our ancestors created.
Yeah.
You know, you work, it's very interestingly, you also work with senior people and tiny children.
Mhm.
So where do you see your, you know, your bias? Like where does your heart lie?
I think my heart lies in being of service. And I say this not because it sounds cool, and sometimes actually it's a burden because
You can't detach
I
yourself.
can't, and I give so much of myself
Hmm.
that someone forgets that. My father always uses this analogy. He said, oxygen mask on yourself first before
First,
anyone
yeah.
else. And I forget that
Hmm.
sometimes. So I think my heart lies in just being of use. I really want to leave every friendship, every family relationship, every interaction, just even this much better off
Uh,
having been in that space with
Space, yeah.
them. So I think that's where my heart
Hmm.
lies. Where I can make impact and help, I will do it. And because I've chosen these two spaces and I
Hmm.
feel a huge sense of duty to therefore who I serve in these spaces, I'll give it my 200% both ways.
And what's the future looking like? What are your future plans? Are you going to stick to these spaces, or you want to expand?
So, Antara is growing rapidly.
Hmm.
As I mentioned, we're four business verticals. We're geographically expanding. We have presence in Bangalore and Chennai, hopefully next to Hyderabad and Chandigarh. And through across the four
Yeah.
verticals, we're in different spaces, and each of the four verticals are growing. So I feel that that is a space that will continue to take a lot of my time. Learning matters. Like I said, my dream, Sonia and my dream, is to create a dedicated K5 school. So that would be our next dream if we can do it for learning matters. And philanthropy, just I think it's come to me.
Hmm.
I haven't gone looking for it. So there I will wait till it keeps coming to me, and that's how sort of that future will evolve.
Talking about Antara a little more, what have you identified as the main areas that concerns this population between 55 and 65?
Right. So when I started Antara, at that time, my main purpose was how does one impact quality of life?
Hmm.
And as I had mentioned, we decided to model ourselves on the international concept of a continuing care retirement community, which essentially starts as a lifestyle concept, but both the hardware and software of that ecosystem plugs in over time to be able to service you when you start needing higher levels of care.
Hmm.
And the beauty of that model is that once people are embedded in a community, they age in place, they
Hmm.
have their familiarity, and that in itself improves quality of
Yeah.
life. And nutrition is plugged in, physical fitness is plugged in, spiritual wellness, occupational, all of that keeps happening. But at the same time, what I realized is that there are going to be people who will not be able to necessarily afford to put down 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 crores into an asset class like ours as they were aging. Two, a lot of people may be fearful to take a decision at the
How much
55,
is one
65.
apartment for
So,
approximately? It
our
starts at.
different communities are different pricing. So, the average price in Dehradun is, if I'm not mistaken, 4.5 crores now. We've had like 150% appreciation over the last few years. Noida is half of that.
Hmm.
Gurgaon is higher than that. So, it depends on the location we are at. And then,
And what all facilities do you provide?
so
It's like a fully functional condo.
fully functional condo, and then you layer on a lot of health facilities. And because we almost choose like-minded people, the sense of community, like I mentioned, really gets built, which I think is the main
Which is
USP.
irreplaceable for these people. Yeah.
Absolutely. But I realized that while it solves for maybe three of the biggest needs of this population, which, and this is not in any particular order, but one is a sense of safety, security,
Hmm.
not just security of being robbed, etc., but even emotional security of if a health crisis happens, I have a whole
System
ecosystem
to look
supporting
after
me,
me.
or emotionally I'm not at my best, I have a whole ecosystem, etc. So
Hmm.
security. Two is a sense of relevance. The minute you're part of a community, someone needs you for something, you feel super. We all want to be needed,
Yeah, absolutely.
ultimately. And three is just pure joy. The joy of doing the little things, being able to go for your walks, or have a cup of tea with a friend, or learn a new language. Joy is very underrated of late. So these three things we were able to do, but like I said, we realized not everybody will be able to get access. And there are a huge population. I mean, we're almost going to be 200 million people over 60 in
Wow.
India by 2025, 2030,
Hmm.
sorry. If I'm able to target 1% of that
Hmm.
population, I won't even be able to serve them, no matter how fast I try to
Hmm.
grow. So our second business model evolved, what we call care homes, because the people who can't shift,
Afford the luxury bit.
afford,
Yeah.
or shift base at the
Yeah.
age, and the older you get, the less.
So these care homes will be in all the tier two cities, or?
Well, we started in Gurgaon and Noida in Delhi. That's, I mean, NCR.
Hmm.
Now we're in Bangalore and we will be in Chennai
Hmm.
in the next few months as well. So we're choosing geographies where the mindset is progressive, where the children understand that if my parents need more care, they will be better off in an Antara care home because all of the care pieces are there. So there's not that much lifestyle there because we're talking about an older senior who needs more healthcare,
Hmm.
but at least the care elements are,
So
you
you
know,
have doctors on board, you have
fully. I
nurses.
mean, we're fully a 24/7
Hmm.
care facility. So that's how the birth of the second vertical came from the needs of people needing more care,
Hmm.
but don't need to be in a hospital, can't be managed at home because at home you're also worrying about the housekeeping and the security guard
Yeah.
and cooking food, and children who live abroad, how do they manage?
Hmm.
And then came the third vertical saying that there are
Which is?
care at home,
Hmm.
where there are people living with their children, but they need care at home. They need nursing services at home. We set up critical care units in their house. They
Hmm.
need physiotherapy, phlebotomy, all of that.
Hmm.
But we all of those service lines have senior specific elements to it. And then Age Easy, our newest baby, which we launched exactly a year ago, is our entire D2C brand, where we realized that in our first three verticals, we're not going to be able to touch millions of lives because we're very high service, those are asset based, very intense offerings. Then, how do we touch the lives of seniors in a slightly more scaled way? And we studied that, seniors have in India and actually now the world have about 10 basic chronic conditions that they are plagued with, and there is no ecosystem that supports products for those chronic conditions. So, for example, today our first three conditions that we launched are fall. So, prevention, detection, managing. How do you deal with the whole space of fall? No one talks about it. And
Yeah.
it is one of the single largest reasons of mortality in seniors because once you fall,
And deterioration. Instant
absolutely
deterioration.
instant.
Yeah.
So we've just launched our fall detection watch, which is a Israeli software that we have. So you keep it on, it monitors your parameters. It
And it
can,
tells you before you're going to fall?
well, not this version. We want to get there.
Hmm.
But the minute you have had a fall, it indicates to
Indicates.
caregivers
Okay.
immediately
Yeah.
that something has happened. We give tips and tricks of how to design your home.
Hmm.
And then we have all our mobility range under falls
Hmm.
from 10 types of walkers, wheelchairs, all of that. Our second condition is joint pain. We started with knee, but now we do back, we do all other joints as well, pain relief,
Hmm.
AIDS, etc. And lung health is our third
Hmm.
condition. So we're taking chronic conditions. Within that space, we want you to think of us as a one-stop shop. That if I have a backache, I'll go to Antara AGZ
Yeah.
because they will have figured out a
So
slight.
this is online?
This is all online.
Okay.
We're on Amazon, we're on Flipkart, we're on 1MG, and then we're all on our own website as well. So it's a very different ball game to the businesses we're used to. Totally different team. All the digital wizards, massively tech backed up. So it's taken a lot of reorienting in my mind as well for this business, but it's very exciting to be in this space.
Also, let's talk about the pandemic. We were talking earlier, and you said that it was a very tough time for you, even personally.
Yeah.
It traumatized you. How has health, the landscape of health changed
Yeah.
post the pandemic?
Yeah.
Do you think now it is more well-being oriented? Do you think it's more preventative? And what are the challenges that a lot of people are facing after being infected, like
Yeah.
with COVID?
I think it's not made a shift so much in well-being and prevention, but I think it has made people wake up to find solutions to be able to
Outside the
access.
traditional medical system?
Yes, and also to say, I want to be able to access healthcare when I need it.
Hmm.
Earlier, you'd have an issue, you'd talk to friends and family,
Hmm.
you'd find the best clinician, and you would make your way. Now, people want to be better prepared. They want to have a GP that is on call all the time. They want to have a facility where they know that
Actually,
they
you're
can
right,
show
because that's
up.
the first time we realized that a lot of our families used to have doctors, but by the time
We don't.
our generations came, we don't have a doctor on call.
We don't. And so now people want to put that process in place to access healthcare,
Hmm.
whether they need it or not. People want to know this system exists in our ecosystem. And I think that's where Antara played a role, because it was when we went into lockdown in Antara, Dehradun, we didn't have a single case of COVID for the first 16 months.
Considering there's so many people there.
And we were 70 staff moved in to
Hmm.
run the community, and we would change the staff every 90 days after a fresh batch were tested. All our residents continued to live life normally indoors. They did all their activities with one another. They had our GP, our doctors, all of they were one of the first few in, I think the first in
How did you
Uttarakhand.
prevent that
We just had no movement. We didn't allow anybody
from
coming in.
outside? Yeah.
And when we started loosening up on the wishes of our residents a year and a half later, obviously then it started to come,
cases-
but we knew more about it. We were prepared,
Yeah.
we were equipped. Our community was the first in Uttarakhand to get vaccinated.
Hmm.
So they started appreciating the back end infrastructure of communities like this, knowing that sense of safety, security, that's something we need. There's someone managing it for us. That has changed. People aspiration of therefore living better, wanting to be in condos where there are someone to call, there are neighbors to seek help from, there are connections in healthcare. I think
Yeah.
that's been the big shift.
Considering we always keep hearing that there would be another pandemic on the horizon
I'm
anytime.
sure.
So now at least you have a system in place for
Yeah.
it.
I mean, even though who knows if that system
Will work that time.
but at least psychologically
that
you
was
feel-
unprecedented. Now at least you psychologically prepared for it.
Exactly.
Amazing. Thank you for your time today.
Such
and
a
all the
pleasure.
best for everything that you're doing.
Thank you. It was lovely to have
Thank
this
you.
chat.
If you like the episode, do not forget to share it and also like, share, and subscribe to all our socials. They are listed below.